Shabbat Shalom, and happy Thanksgiving. Each year, in November and December, we read the second half of the book of Genesis. So while we are planning and attending a variety of family events like Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, we are also reading about the family dynamics and dramas of our ancestors like Jacob and Esau and Joseph and his brothers. How fitting. As we are dealing with our own family drama, we are reading about the struggles and triumphs of those who walked these paths before us. This week, we read about the two times that Esau loses something that was rightfully his. The first time, Esau comes in from an unsuccessful hunting trip, so hungry that he trades his birthright for a simple bowl of stew. In the second story, Jacob, with his mother Rebekah's help, tricks his father Isaac into giving him the blessing that was rightfully Esau's. In the latter story, getting his father's blessing was clearly due to trickery that was problematic and unethical. But in the first story, where Esau willingly traded his birthright for a bowl of stew, the morals and the ethics are less clear. Let's look a little more closely at how this story might have gone. Jacob was home studying and cooking stew. In walks a hungry and grumpy or hangry Esau. "Give me some of that stew," Esau demands. "No," says Jacob, upset that Esau comes in as if he owns the place, making demands of his brother. "Give me some or I will die," Esau demands. "Would you be willing to give up your birthright for it?" Jacob asks, thinking there's no way he would say yes. "Sure, whatever. What good will it do me if I die of hunger? Just give me the stew." Thus, Esau trades his birthright for a bowl of stew. Was Jacob right? Did he lie? Did he ever cheat? No, he laid it all out on the table, and Esau agreed to this trade. Was it fair? Maybe, maybe not, but it was agreed to. Did he take advantage of the situation? Probably. But nothing he did was technically unethical. So while the trade may be technically acceptable, a better question is probably, was it the kind thing to do? Here we can likely agree that Jacob should have shared his stew with his brother, either for free or something of more equal value. Or in the Jewish way of saying it, for the sake of Shalom Bayit, keeping peace in the home, maybe Jacob should have been a little kinder. I find it meaningful that as we enter into the season of family gatherings and celebration, we are in the midst of reading the stories of brothers who can't seem to get along. Stories that highlight how terribly wrong our familial relationships can be when we focus on the wrong things or don't treat each other with respect. As a rabbi, people often come to me for advice on dealing with difficult family relationships. More of them around this time as there are more opportunities to get along or not get along with family. While I don't generally have a cut or dry answer, there's one thing that I can always assure them. You are not alone. You are not the first to walk this path. Cain kills Abel. Abraham exiles one child, agrees to sacrifice the other. Jacob takes advantage of Esau, tricks him out of his blessing. Esau threatens to kill Jacob. Jacob plays favorites with his own sons. They sell him into slavery, and on and on. Sometimes just realizing that we as a people have faced these kinds of battles before gives us a new perspective on our own challenges. But the other thing I often talk to people about is the value and limits of Shalom Bayit, peace in the house. Shalom Bayit is the concept that there is value in creating and maintaining peace in our home. It means there are times that we should default to kindness, even when revenge or anger may be justified. It also means that sometimes we let the little things go simply for the sake of peace. But that said, it does not mean that we have to be someone we are not, or we have to put up with problematic behavior simply for appearing peaceful. It does mean we consider both sides and different outcomes before making decisions on how to act or react in any situation. So let's look back at Jacob and Esau. Technically, Jacob did nothing wrong. Esau was hungry, and Jacob used his desperation to get a great deal for himself. Although we may not be able to tag Jacob as having gone against any specific rule, we can all agree that he took advantage of the situation that was presented to him. Did Jacob deserve to be compensated? Probably. But a double portion and the rightful titles of his father? Probably not. This is a case where, with Shalom Bayit, Jacob could have offered to share his stew with his brother for the sake of kindness and peace. So when should we take kindness or Shalom Bayit into account? And when do we decide to let things slide in an effort to maintain peace? And on the flip side, when do we stand our ground and not compromise, even at the risk of damaging a relationship? When can we agree to disagree? And when should our differences come between our relationships? The reality is, not every relationship is worth keeping. As Rabbi Hillel famously said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I am only for myself, what am I?" The first part of his quote reminds us that our first obligation is to care for ourselves. If we can't care for ourselves, then we become unable to care for others. But the second line reminds us that if we only care for ourselves without regard for others, then we are also acting improperly. Like so many things in life, managing difficult relationships is a balance. There isn't one rubric that fits all scenarios. Yes, relationships are important, and yes, relationships are a series of give and take and compromises. And while there are times it's best to agree to disagree and let things slide, there are also times it's important and appropriate to stand up for our core beliefs and values and remember that we too are valuable and worthy of respect. Relationships are hard. They're worth fighting for, but they're not worth losing yourself in the fight. Judaism values community, but it also insists that each of us are created b'tselem Elohim in the holy image of God, and we are worthy of the respect of being that holy image. Oftentimes, Judaism tells us exactly what to do. There are foods we can eat, there are foods we can't eat. There are specific times to pray, there is a formula for how much charity we should give. There are even guidelines regulating ethical business practice. But often, Judaism only serves as a guide, reminding us of the competing values that we must consider when making tough decisions, not necessarily deciding the outcome for us, but reminding us what to take into account as we make the decision. Relationships are one of those places. In Torah, we see our ancestors fight and distance themselves from one another, but we also see them reconcile and find forgiveness even for grievous sins. Sometimes there's value in putting distance between ourselves and a toxic relationship, but there's also value in finding ways to move forward and make peace for the sake of family peace. We have examples of each of these. We have an example of relationships that are forever severed, such as Abraham and Isaac, after Abraham tries to sacrifice Isaac. We have examples of wrongs that are allowed to pass, such as Jacob immediately forgiving Laban and working an extra 7 years to have Rachel as his bride as well. And we have examples where forgiveness is granted after a length of time, such as Esau and Jacob, when Esau does finally forgive Jacob years after he steals the birthright and the blessing. No path forward is without its bumps. There isn't one right way to solve difficult family dynamics. Some relationships are worth keeping, even if it means allowing things to roll off our back. But others are so toxic that the only way to care for ourselves is to sever the relationship. And then there are those that we may need a break from before lines of communication can be reopened, repaired, and a path forward forged. Ultimately, we must balance our need to hold true to our core value and care for ourselves, while also remembering that there is great value in creating and keeping peace. It is not an easy challenge, but it is one worth engaging in. Shabbat Shalom.